Now, tonight, we're not going to be talking about swamp gas. We're going to be talking about shiny airplanes. We're going to be talking about these drones, these anomalies in the skies above America and all over the earth. And stay tuned. Get your cup of coffee, get your favorite beverage or popcorn, what have you, and stay tuned because we're going to be popping the lid off on these drones and this UFO, UAP activities. Be right back.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FOJC Radio Sunday Night Live. We are live tonight. And as Brian said, tonight we're going to be looking at Drone Mania, Drones Over Babylon. And we're going to be here putting our heads together and trying to see what we can come up with is behind this stuff, because there's something going on. There really is. So we want to welcome each and every one of you to the broadcast tonight. And as always, I'm thankful here to the man going to be leading the charge tonight, chasing them drones, Mr. Brian Reese. Brian, thank you once again for being here.
Yeah, and thank you, David, so much for letting me be part of this and co-host this with you like always. Welcome all newcomers. Welcome everybody here to the FOJC Underground Church community. We are so very thankful for you guys being part of this channel tonight and this show, because we've got a lot to unwind and pull back the onion, so to speak. I say that a lot, but tonight we've got a lot to discuss on this drone activity and this anomalous activity that's going around in our skies of America and all over the earth. So, Brother David, before I get going, how are you, David? How you doing?
Well, I'm doing really good. We've been very busy, but it's been very good. Things are popping, and God's a blessing. So I'm thankful. I really truly am. And God is so good. And I'm really excited to be able to look into this. And tonight we're going to be looking for some input from our people in the chat, because we're just like you. We're trying to figure this out. We're going over the options, and it's something's really going on here. Every day that goes by lets us know that there's something going on here of a pretty serious nature. So I'm thankful that we can put our heads together tonight and see what we can come up with about these drones over Babylon. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And real quick before we get started, I just want to give a big shout out to Miss Donna and everything she does behind the scenes also for this program. So thank you, Miss Donna. I want to give you a shout out before we get the program going tonight. Big thank you.
Absolutely.
Big thank you, Miss Donna. Big thank you.
I
So,
bet she'll be in the chat tonight. I think I already seen her in the chat already.
absolutely, David. So, we're going to get into this one tonight. Like I said, sit back, relax. It's going to be a different one tonight on the Sunday Night Live, what we usually do here. But let's get into it. So, this drone activity, a lot of speculation, a lot of hysteria. People are in panic mode. It's starting to really come off the rails. There's no explanation for anything that's going on. The government's not really coming involvement as anything, really, everything. Even the senators, the congressmen, everybody's getting frustrated, and they're starting to really, the narrative is starting to implode on all levels, and people are starting to see through the drama, so to speak. So speaking of, before we get going into the meat of it, does anybody remember something that went down? And there's this gentleman, his name's Cliff High. Cliff High had a prediction, and he supposedly had a algorithm, right? And from my understanding, I think he created it in 1997 when the internet was very young, right? So when you look at this, you contemplate what is really going on. This individual had this prediction, David, and we spoke about it off air. his prediction in 2009, this algorithm scraped the internet and gave out this prophecy of the internet, right? Quantified prophecy. And supposedly this Cliff High individual, he spoke in a way saying that in December the 3rd, in sometime in the future, in December the 3rd, so I'll tell you what the date, what happened in 2009, the Joe Rogan podcast with the new 47th president coming up, and in 2009, the prediction came out that there would be a podcast with them two individuals. When that podcast came, there's supposed to be a trigger point. The trigger point would be Mr. Trump. Well, this is according to the algorithm. And according to what happened, 39 days after that, October the 25th this year, when they had that broadcast across the airways with that podcast, what was so bizarre and interesting about it, Cliff High's so-called algorithm prediction in December the 3rd came and gone, but there was a lot of chatter. A lot of people talking about it on the internet. It was the Internet of Things. It was going worldwide, right? Everybody was getting involved in it. And this individual even spoke on some podcasts and some videos that he put out and said, hey, I'm not necessarily saying that it might be on the 3rd, but there's going to be something to do with aliens or UFO activity, fighter jets to that magnitude. There'll be two different kinds of individuals, like his categorization of UFOs. Well, here we are, right after, 2024 or 12/15, December the 15th, and here we are, Brother David. There's all kinds of insanity going on. Is it a psyop? What is it? I'm not knocking off on Cliff High. I just think it's very intriguing and compelling, Brother David. And what do you say about that before we really get going? What say you, David? Because what would you say about this individual? How would he predict this? And how do you think his algorithm, and how would this even come about if there's not even some type of intelligence to help out move this along? What do you say, Brother David?
Well, it's crazy that he would be able to prophesy that at that time. And at that time, Joe Rogan wasn't nearly as well known as he is now. And that's just crazy that it would have been predicted like that. And the things that AI is doing, it is literally coming to the place where it's acting independently. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but next Midnight Ride, John's going to be showing some stuff that should concern each and every one that's breathing air that's going on with AI. But AI is coming to the place where AI can prophesy, AI can do things that AI shouldn't be able to do. So literally, and, we've talked before about the possibility of demonic spirits actually possessing machines. And I think this is something that is absolutely possible. So we've got a lot going on here. And the fact that this was done, there could very well be a malevolent force behind this. So we'll just have to hold on and watch. But all the time we say, well, we've never seen nothing like this. And these things just keep happening. And this drone madness is just another one of these things.
I agree 100%, David. And it seems like it's just getting more bizarre and bizarre as we go throughout the weeks. And every day it seems like the media, the news keeps on bringing out some type of other information. So let's jump into it here. We have tons of different data points as far as drone activity coming and going. If you do a Google search on the top stories, you can type in drone news, and it just comes up everywhere. Mysterious New Jersey drone activity may be deliberately a distraction, hiding a potential threat, attacks, and all these different concepts. There's talking about 2 arrested after hazardous drone operation near Boston Airport. I mean, it's nuts. You get what will you know about the mysterious drones reports over the East Coast. 2 men arrested over a drone flies dangerously close to Boston's Logan Airport. And if I remember correctly, Brother David, I don't think I'm mistaken. I think New York, they closed down on their airports just the other day. So
yeah, they closed down, I know, at least several runways because of these drones. And the governor of New York, when that happened, even the governor of New York is wanting answers. When you start grounding air flights because of this, we've got something here someone needs to come up with some answers about.
I agree. So a lot of people might not have seen this, but I'm going to show a video footage. And what's so compelling about this video footage is it was breaking news last night. And give a big shout out to Raw Alerts on X, Twitter, when he brings a lot of different content and always is presenting a large amounts of content. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. So let's check this out. There was something that went on Raw Alerts, and something very mysterious went on in Connecticut. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the report was yesterday, and it was very ominous. And as of right now, I can't pick it up for some reason because it's not showing, but we will get it here in about 30 seconds, folks, so forgive me for that. You gotta love the technology. Um, let me find it real quick. Here it is, and I'm gonna play the audio. So this is a 911 call. So it was breaking news late last night. It was the time lapse on it was 21 hours ago. A 911 caller was receiving a report from a caller that unknown drone is landing near a solar panel field and sucking up the power. That's how it was. That's how the 911 conversation went. Let's just listen to this and let me see what you guys think, because it's really bizarre and very compelling. And let's just check this out real quick. It's pretty neat. So hang on one moment.
I'll put you on a call for a suspicious drone sighting in North Stonington. This is Lisa. She's driving.
Sorry about the loop, you all, but you got the point after you watched it 3 or 4 times. So yeah, we have this very peculiar setup here, as far as this kinetic caller speaking in a term that something anomalous went on with these solar panels. Is the drone sucking the energy out of the? Is this what the play is? Whenever they was going around, yeah, I'm here, Brother David. One moment. We are having audio issues. Brother David, I'm here. So anyways, Brother David's having some issues here, and I know that everybody can hear me. So let me see if I can get him to come back in. He's going to pop in and pop back out, and he'll be right back with us. So what I'm getting at, folks, this individual was speaking about solar panels being sucked up, absorbing the energy. So what's going on with that? Why would that be going on, and what would happen with that? Why would something so-called advanced come up, out of the sky and come down and deploy and start devouring a solar panel's energy level, and then all of a sudden swoop, go out in the middle of nowhere? Is these things, and I'm waiting for David to come back in here too, but is these things where they're staying so long in the skies? The reports are that they're staying so much altitude and so long, 6 to 8 hours. Some people are saying 5 to 6, etc. But we don't know. We don't really know what's going on. So, David, can you hear me? Are you back, my friend?
I'm back.
You're back. You're back.
I had to
David.
come back in. I'm back. A drone must have got me.
So yeah,
It's got a little drone beam on me.
They're hovering over the command center right now and taking our feet off. So, what I was saying, Brother David, is this solar panel and this drone was sucking, absorbing the energy from this drone, and then taking going back into the air. And it makes me wonder, whenever there's a lot of reports, people are saying the New Jersey area and everywhere, saying these drones are coming from the ocean. And they're speculating, saying, how can a drone stay up in the skies for this long period amount of time? Like it can't even be feasible with a traditional drone, even on a military stance, what we have as far as advanced technology. And you can't stay up in the air 6, 8 hours without being. I mean, there's just no way, brother David, with the distancing and the amount of area that they're covering with these drones. So this
Now, is
911
this
call,
something a commercial drone could have done? I mean, do they have that capacity to go down to a solar panel and recharge?
from my understanding, because I mean, you got to take in consideration, it would not, it would have bloated up, David. I mean, it would have imploded. It wouldn't even the
Yeah,
drone itself wouldn't even been it wouldn't been functioning.
I don't think a regular drone that a person could buy would be able to do that. My understanding, I'm not a drone expert, but that doesn't sound like regular drone stuff to me.
Agree 100%. Agree 100%. And it makes me think of something. I don't know. I'll get everybody in the audience and everybody watching. We're on Twitter too. We're on Twitter and X also on the visual disturbance side of it. So welcome everybody that's viewing on the Twitter X side. So welcome to the live program. So David, the something that just came to my mind with this 911 call in Connecticut and this drone supposedly absorbing, because you got to think these lithium batteries and all these advancements. It would have imploded the sails, David. It would have surged. It would not have been able to come down and just suck the energy out of the solar panel and pop back up. So is it a hoax? What is it? Is it is this individual, is it all just made up, make believe? Is it just a big psyop and everybody's getting caught up in the hysteria? Who knows? But David, if you have anything to comment on that, because to me that one got me. But I have something to comment on what it makes me think of. But I'll give you the floor, David.
Well, my conclusion and a basic conclusion, it really looks like the elected officials, the mayors, the governors, even the senators and the congressmen honestly don't know what's going on. But I have to believe that people in the military do know. They have too much sophisticated equipment that can tell them where these things are lifting off from and going back to. And I have to think that there are people in the military do know, and they're not saying. And well, why aren't they saying? And here's where the possibilities unfold. It could be a big psyop. It really could be a big psyop. And one of the things we talked about in the Kennedy assassination about the giving the people the feeling that they're confronted with a power they can't do anything about, that to promote helplessness in people. And that's kind of like the feeling frustration degenerates into helplessness. And here, we've got drones over military bases, people's houses, everywhere. And they're even being spotted now in other countries. So I don't know. It's a psyop. That's something we have to consider. And it could be something that's leading up to something else. So right now, until we can really get more information to really nail this down, I think we have to keep all options open. But certainly, I think it's time to start looking at this and weighing our options. And I think certainly a lot of the video you're going to present tonight is going to be extremely compelling. It's going to show us that, these things have been flying in formation. They're extremely large. I don't think that an individual, here again, to say, I don't have a drone, I'm not a drone flyer, but I don't think you could go down to the local store and buy a drone big as a Volkswagen. So there's just a lot of stuff going on here that would lead us to believe it's little more than just regular drones. So I'm really looking forward to tonight to having you play this video and having everyone look at it and hearing from the ideas of what people think's going on here.
Absolutely, David. So I'll tell you my take, and we'll move on from this Connecticut narrative here with this drone. So if anybody ever remembers in the last year, I know David knows because you talked about in the Midnight Ride with Brother John, the Las Vegas weirdness that went on in Las Vegas, and that family got terrorized by these orbs and these tall creatures saying there's aliens in my backyard. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody remember the whole craziness going on, David? So we're going to read an article here, and we're going to just kind of touch base here on what happened that day. So we have this report from News Nation. We're going to be talking about News Nation quite a bit here, but, to give credit where credit's due. But this article here is talking about a veteran crime scene where they're talking about an expert who is analyzing the video that portrays two creatures in the Las Vegas backyard, says the video hasn't been altered. And he believes it sees the images of not one, but two beings. Once you see it, you can't deny it. That's Scott Roeder. There's no editing. This is an original video, he says. And that's from the News Nation Banfield on Friday of this article that came out May the 3rd, 2024. We tried to debunk it to see if there was something that they could add to the video. All the results came back as it was authentic. This event happened in April 30th, 2023, when the Kim Moore family called 911 to report something non-human in their backyard. Police investigated the part because other officers had spotted a mysterious flashing light in the sky the same evening. So I want to bring something to everybody's attention because I remember doing a video on this on my Visual Disturbance channel. And get this, David. So the individual, I think the father, was talking about a giant orb come down. It almost looked like there was an impression in his backyard, right? But here's the kicker. He had construction equipment, like Caterpillar equipment, bulldozers, etc., in the backyard. Well, there was like an impression. It looked like a giant ball orb. Well, he said remember the account, the individuals, these so-called two individuals, these beings, get up and start wandering around. One of them even says, they got on the video, they set it behind the seat of one of the construction equipment. So I remember picking this up and I was thinking, okay, so what's going on? How am I going to bring this up? And let me see if I can find anything out that's really peculiar. So I remember looking and really researching in it before I get into the program, as far as I was like, okay, that year it came out, I was like, man, let me make sure I get all my ones and twos and threes down. So here's what was so bizarre and compelling, David. The individuals got up and went and got the orb and just teleported out of there and shot up in the sky, according to the report. Well, here's what was so bizarre. The equipment the following morning was literally all the batteries was dead. All the batteries. So these individuals, these two beings, and I remember I was like, okay, I even told the audience in that live feed, I said, look, I might be speculating here, but I said, just guess what happened to the Caterpillar and the bulldozers and all this construction equipment. All the batteries was dead. And that report, that did come back, and all the batteries was dead. And what was so bizarre, some of the batteries was brand new, fully charged batteries. So they came down, whatever this is, this technology, it makes you wonder, how can they be crashing and making impressions and running out of energy? There's one thing. Speaking of a PSYOP, how does a intergalactical alien fallen angel technology, how do they run out of source of power when they're hovering over Las Vegas? There's a little fun humor. But what my point is, they sucked all the battery out, just like the account in the Connecticut 911 call, get you some solar panel energy and pop right back up and roll on. And if that's legit, if that caller's legit, this one can literally basically there's similar concepts here of both article of the last, a year and a half ago to right now in modern time. What do you say, David? Because if they have the technology to do this, and we're going to show some more video footage about there's disruptions and everything, and this stuff is authentic. And what do you say, David? What's really going on, David? It's insane.
Well, that similarity that's a check in the box for building up a case that we've got more than just regular drone activity here. It's not conclusive, but it's an indicator. It's a very interesting similarity that these drones are behaving like a lot of these other phenomena could point us to believe it's more than just a regular drone. At least some of them.
And I agree 100%. And real quick before I move on, there's something I really wanted to focus on. It came to my mind. I was looking into these drones, and I looked at the Las Vegas narrative with the 8-footers and the 8 to 10 foot tall individuals. And I want to bring this up. The Peruvian people, David, the Peruvian people was being terrorized around the same time as the Las Vegas narrative. If you remember, and
I remember that very well. Yeah.
These face peelers, and they, there's a certain term, I can't even pronounce it, forgive me, I cannot speak that native tongue, but they called it something, but it means in the English language face peelers. And there was all this interesting photos coming out. People are saying this is authentic. I mean, it was crazy time last year if you think about it, and that was a year and a half ago, right? And here we are in 2024. So if you remember the Peruvian village, there's people having these horrific injuries, people going into, I mean, shock, and they was filming. There was these authentic photos and video of literally a tall being. But here's the kicker: they had these so-called hoverboards. These hoverboards, and then the narrative was the government and everybody was like, "Oh, it's just the miners. There's people mining down there and scaring
miners
the locals
with jetpacks."
Yeah, they're chiseling with pickaxes, like on Minecraft, and coming out there looking like Green Goblin off Spider-Man, and making everybody go in and trying to take women. There was the Genesis 6 narrative, David. There was women getting taken, trying to get taken. There was these villagers, these men taken and trying to keep these women from getting abducted, right? And guess what? The narrative was they was 8 to 10 foot tall. They had these special suits on, 8 to 10 foot tall, hovering over hoverboard, right? And I'm not mocking the Peruvian people. My point is why would they see, here's the deal. They wouldn't lie about that. They wouldn't be just making up stuff for publicity. And another thing you got to take into consideration, around the time of the Las Vegas event, the secret black ops projects here in America, our administration that we have now, they sent a Sentinel group. It's called Sentinel to combat, because they was trying to check and monitor and figure out and navigate. It makes you think of the movie Predator. Like they was trying to go into the woods and figure out why there's these cloaking mechanisms and these people getting taken. It reminded me of the movie Predator. But they called them Sentinel Group, an advanced combat ready, whatever type of technology they had to combat these alien like 8 to 10 foot tall beings. And it's starting to make sense. They had, back a year ago, they started showing themselves, and see if you think about it, everybody, and anybody watching this, they come from the ground. They come from under the earth. And I've said it many times on this program and many other platforms that I've been on, the Manakuabu, the ant people, the people that the Brazilian tribal leader is saying that they go to war with, that it takes their women and children, and it can give you knowledge, but it can be bad, and it's relating to a gray alien, David. And all these things are coming there's all these correlations and similarities. And if I remember correctly, David, you did a program about these 8 foot tall beings. If I'm not mistaken, I think you might have done it on FOJC or Midnight Ride.
We did a Midnight Ride. John and I did a Midnight Ride on the face peelers.
Yeah, but the ones is the 1800s, that the 1800 narrative, that there was these big large men, like gray-looking grays, that would be in the forest, that they actually killed off. And I can't remember that video that you did, but maybe that it'll come to me after a while. But there was a video I think you did a long time ago about it. Maybe I'll remember that here after a while, this program. But anyways, these Peruvian people are being the first victims of whatever catastrophic disclosure that is coming about the bin, right? So, speaking of, let's move. You got anything else to say real quick, David, here on this one?
No, go right ahead.
So let's get into some actual video footage. This one was interesting to me. This one's in New Jersey. There's a lot of New Jersey. It's footage coming out every which way. It just seems like New Jersey is plagued with these UAPs, drones, or whatever's going on. It just seems like it never ends with these guys. So 1 second here, and I'm gonna pull it up here. It's David. It's really getting very sketchy when it comes to this stuff. You just can't make it up, brother David. You just can't. So here we go. Check this out.
Mystery drones in the air. This is wild. I was moving quick. What in the world is happening? What? Update, but that mystery drone up there is still there. It's been like maybe 10-15 minutes. It's still there. I just found 3.
So what we see here, folks, is there's something. I know some of these video footage is kind of like, everybody's saying Project Bluebeam, and here. Let me ask you a question. I'm not trying to mock anybody or make fun of anybody because I don't know either. I only know what I can research and find out and navigate through. Why does everybody here lately go to the default level and say Project Bluebeam? Like, that's Project Bluebeam. Like Project Bluebeam. Why don't they say Philadelphia Experiment or Project Stargate or it's Bluebeam. It's Project Bluebeam. And a lot of people's integrity. They discredit them in some shape or form when they say, "Hey, I got something in my backyard." Oh, that's Project Bluebeam. Don't worry about it. And I'm not trying to really. I'm not poking fun at anybody, but Brother Dave, what do you say about that? This Project Bluebeam thing, and what do you think about this video footage we just seen? Because these orbs coming together, and they're always in triangle formation. It looks like there's these orbs coming in triangle formation, and then sometimes they'll merge as one orb, and then it'll be so ominous and so it's like a bright LED light. What's going on, David? I mean, really, what is going on?
Well, we can just conjecture at this point, of course, but they behave like you can see them. The way they move is like UFO footage that we've seen at a much higher altitude, and they fly in relationship to one another, and they fly in definitive formations. And there have been uh, footage of they get so bright it's like almost another sun in the sky, really get bright luminous. So there's just a lot of just very interesting behavior here that it's got us going here. It's got us going.
Absolutely. And David, did you know there's reports of people saying that they see the bright orb, and then all of a sudden it just morphs into a drone? Like those,
Yeah, I have.
those.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
David, what's up with that? Right.
yeah.
So speaking of, a couple days ago, the Pentagon, and you had that what was the senator's name, come out and said that these drones need to be shot down. We need to take action now. This is Iran and Russia, and making all these random thoughts, and he's just literally throwing it out the table. No reserving of it at all. He didn't reserve himself at all on it, and I thought that was very interesting that he did not. He spoke in a way that he's very confident in what he knew, but I really do think some of these people are getting scared, in my opinion. But maybe I'm just maybe I should probably not said that, but I really do feel like some of these people are running around like, hey, we don't know what we're doing, we don't know what to tell the people, and it will cause catastrophic, literally panic in the streets, so to speak. So speaking of, I've got some audio here and some video footage of what was said from Sabrina from the Defense Department briefing that went down a few days back, and it's got a compilation of different footage as far as what went down, these public hearings, and it's about 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. Check this out.
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial
I hope there's sound. Is there? Okay,
Doesn't look like
let me
speaker on the
replay
chat
it.
or
Forgive
here.
me, folks.
Fine.
Forgive me, folks. Let me replay it. I will replay that. So sorry.
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
From the Coast Guard, who said that one of their 47-foot motor lifeboats was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones as they went through the water.
These are 6-foot drones that are somehow evading our detection. They are not being detected.
They're saying no threat, but how the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from. They don't know nothing.
They know that they can't track them. They know that they don't emit a signal. They know that they can't see them when they turn their lights out. They also indicated that they don't know where they come from. They don't know where they go to.
One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed times.
Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their homes.
It's right here over Picatinny. There was a drone just hanging out. I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. Warning on my screen, lost control, and my drone started going down dead.
These are fully charged batteries. It's 2 batteries that have died within seconds, and the drone went up and, like a couple feet off the table, and then came right back down.
Okay, you see it? You see how it goes? See how it goes? And then it becomes a spacecraft or aircraft or whatever you want to call it.
What the fuck is that, bro? Did it just get smaller? Bro, what?
Above the ocean, and it was low, very low, but so bright and so clear, and it was huge. Like when you...
I'm concerned. I issued a letter to ask for more information, and I think there should be a lot more transparency about that.
Can you make that make more sense? Because I think people in New York and New Jersey see drones the size of an SUV over their house every night and think that doesn't make any sense.
I understand why people would be looking at this and being concerned about it. We're concerned about it too, which is why we have the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. My goodness, looking at this, and we're taking it seriously. And
And I want to say, too, everybody, forgive me for the horrible language. That's something that I forgot to bring up. There were some of these videos that I could not edit out. Sometimes they slip up and make some very vulgar language. That's not what we're about here. And just have some grace with us here, folks. Just forgive me for that little slip up. But David, the Pentagon doesn't know what's going on. They know it's not the adversaries. They don't. And I'm sorry for the audio, too. I hope you can still hear me and Brother David. And thank you all for being such good people to tell me there's no sound in the program. That's what happens when you go live. That's what happens when you go live, folks. But here's the deal. So the Pentagon is saying something. The White House is saying something totally different. David, are they gaslighting us? I'm not talking about the Pentagon. I think the Pentagon's kind of treading on the fence, but is the White House gaslighting us maybe a little bit here? Do they even know what's going on? And I think these senators and congressmen are fed up. What do you say, David?
Well, I'll throw another theory out. And this is just a theory. I'm not saying I believe it, but I'm saying it makes too much sense. I picked up on this right up until the time we went on the air. I've been scurrying around, listening to this, listening to that, see what I can find out, what people are saying. And there was a fella that claimed that he had been in the military, and I don't doubt him at all, and he was in military intelligence. And he claimed that one of his pals told him that what this was about is that a nuclear weapon had come in through one of the eastern ports, and that there was a nuclear weapon within our boundary, and that what these drones were, they were looking for the nuke. So I don't know, but that would make sense why they're not saying anything. Now, I'm not saying I believe that, but that's just one of the many theories that's out there, and I've just heard that right before I came on the broadcast tonight. So it's worth throwing out there anyway.
I agree 100%, David, and I will just go ahead and show that video. You went ahead and jumped ahead of me. That's all right, man. That's what I like.
Oh,
I like
you've got that video.
I've got that
Well,
video of that
looky there,
individual.
yeah.
Well, yes, sir.
All
Let's go ahead and
right.
play
Well,
it.
there we go.
Let's
So,
go ahead and play
yeah.
it. Yeah. So
That's frosty.
and what he's alluding to, everybody, what David was talking about here, the whole setup with this and the whole narrative of the nuclear warhead that supposedly was smuggled in from Europe. And I want to comment after I play this video, and we really want to hear what this guy says. He's a military contractor. I think he even helped build these drones, and I'm trying to show it because I have so many videos to go scroll through. But this individual, he does seem like he knows what he's talking about, and let's just see what we can get into here. Let's check this out.
Of Saxon Aero. Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast, and as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody, so, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay? We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high-level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay? That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay? Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas, and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that come up missing here in the United States, and they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? there's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, you mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying and flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So, my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground. Gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever.
Well, there you have it, everybody. I'm gonna pause it because it's almost 10 minutes long video. But as you can tell there, with his opinion, that was John Ferguson, the CEO of Saxon Aerospace. He seems very knowledgeable in what he says. But David, does it pass the smell test? He says that the drones, if they're being deployed, they're not nefarious. They're there to smell the stench of America. That's a little sarcasm there. But you know what, Brother David? If I remember correctly, we did a program a few weeks ago with UFOs Are Real program. You remember we talked about the smell and the aroma of sulfur? It's kind of interesting that could he be referring to sulfur when he's talking about gas leaks, etc.? Could they be smelling sulfur, David? Is there something going on here that we're just not seeing? And it's, it's correlation to what we talked about earlier with the Las Vegas. Is there creatures going bump in the night? Is there interdimensional beings? Is the fallen angels showing their cards? Or is it really just looking for nukes on a smell test? Obviously, he's like he said, they can't see at night. They can only be detecting smell. So what do you say, David? Because this one sounds a little far-fetched, but I don't, like I said, I'm not like you said too, we're not drone experts, and this man seems like he has a resume full of information. So what do you say about this, David?
Well, I think it smells pretty good. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's just a fact that there are many, many suitcase nuclear weapons back from the fall of the old Soviet Union. None of them have ever been recovered. They're out there. And the fact that our government definitely seems to be pushing for a war with Russia. So it's crazy. But, this could be, if we are definitely capable of doing a false flag event. And if a nuclear bomb would detonate in New Jersey, that could be traced back to Russia. That'd sure do the trick, wouldn't it? Now, I don't know that that's a fact, but it makes sense. It's at least a logical conclusion. It makes more sense than some of the other theories we've got out there. It at least has some logic to it, and I think it's worth considering.
Well, I have this crazy theory, David. You ready? And it kind of goes along with some of the programs we've done in the past and some of the research we've done. I keep going back to the misread record that we talked about when we did our Atlantis trilogy series. I remember you speaking about this vapor canopy. And you can tell, and I know everybody out there in the audience and everybody out there in the airwaves, didn't you notice a difference this summer? Like the humidity, the heat, all over the earth and everybody through the Internet of Things. It's the global shift. It's the polar shift. We have the northern pole, south pole is shifting, and we have this climate change narrative. It's the great shifting. There's going to be earthquakes, and everybody's temperatures are going to be off. There's going to be catastrophic earthquakes, tornadoes, and all kinds of nonsense. But I will tell you, when it comes to crop, when you're trying to grow crops this summer, it was really hard to grow crops. And my crops was late bloomers when it comes to gardening. It was taking a long period of time to grow. I kid you not. Here it is in December, and we just pulled some carrots out of a raised bed. And I know carrots are decent in cold climate, but it's been super, super cold here for several weeks. But you notice in November, all the way up into the, almost mid-November, it was very humid. It was warm for this time of the year. Well, if you see all the different things that's happened, North Carolina, this horrible things that's went on with these hurricanes, and it makes me think of vapor canopy, David. You was talking about these, you could see these Saturn's rings, these different layers, and you could see things like on a light spectrum. We talked about that last week when we discussed in the Terminator, the conspiracy. Go check that out if you haven't, folks. But the conspiracy mystery theater, and we did a decoding on Terminator. When you've seen that and you think about the misread record and different correlations with things, David, are we living in is there some kind of correlation there? I mean, I know that because you got cold air, hot air, all these different things, and the way these lights are showing up in the sky, it's almost like they're reappearing, popping out, and with the literally twinkle twinkle little star kind of narrative, and you go boom, and they're out of your peripheral. And what is that? And they're going Mach 5, Mach 10, you can't even see them anymore. And it goes back to, like I said, what do you think about the whole concept of the misread record, that book and the vapor canopy, David?
Well, I believe that theory, and it's one we deserve to take a deeper dive into. I've obtained another book by Mr. Vail, and he was a scientist at the end of the 1900s that developed this theory of the vapor canopy, and it's a very good one, and he backs it up with a lot of ancient records from what the ancient peoples claimed they saw. But there's video, and I'm sure you're going to be showing some little bit of these drones spraying stuff, and we have to, of course, well, what are they spraying and why? And we think we've all seen, I was out today and I saw the sky filled, a beautiful clear sky being defiled with the chemtrails from multiple airplanes flying up there today. So we have to and we put forth the theory before that part of the reason, the global warming is coming from the deliberate efforts of people to change the climate. And, it's up and it's down. There's just bizarre weather patterns all the way around. But could it be, and we put forth the theory that perhaps people are wanting to change the atmosphere to make it more likable to creatures that are within the heart of the earth that are going to be reappearing? It's at least a theory worth considering. And It's just another one of these very interesting aspects. But I'm sure you're going to be getting into there's video of these drones not only spraying stuff, but shooting red lasers. So, what do we got? And also they could be detecting biologicals or putting out biologicals. So, we just got to really keep an eye on this and watch and pray here because there's something out of the ordinary going on. That's for sure.
I agree 100%, David. And speaking of, let's go ahead and play that video. We're going to play the one that there's actually something coming out of this UFO, drone, whatever, what have you. Check this out, everybody, because it's pretty compelling.
Look at this motherfucker. Look at him spraying.
Sorry about the low. Hey, I will for just throw this out here. I'm going to pause the audio on this one. There's not going to be no audio, and I'm going to comment to it because this gentleman cannot restrain himself, and I am not going to post it on there. Even though I let that slip, I am going to pause that. But we are going to listen to it, me and David, but the audience will not hear it. As you can see, everybody, this drone above this man's house, and it's distributing some type of something. It literally looks like a chemtrail. And how is it going straight up? I've never seen those type of things go straight up. They usually get diagonal, but it's right above. There's that drone, and this individual's losing his wits about him and can't even speak without saying every other word, dropping some bad language. So let me know what you guys think in the live feed here, because we got some very bizarre things going on. If they're literally spraying something out, could it be something to be with the propulsion system? Could it be something to do with, maybe they're letting out a little swamp gas. Maybe letting a little swamp gas, like I alluded to at the beginning of the program, David. You think this drone's letting out a little swamp gas, or you think there's just dissipating? You think they're just, what are they doing? Is it a propulsion system? What would this? I've never seen a drone spray vapor trail up and down. What do you say about this, Dave? It's insane.
Of any commercial drone an individual could buy. We got something more going on here than a bunch of good old boys getting a case of beer and going down to the drone store. We've got some pretty sophisticated stuff. Well, very sophisticated. And there are just all kinds of options come to the table of what this could be. But none of them are really good. And the fact that these things are going on, it's getting to be very concerning. And I don't know. I have to say I don't know because we don't know. But all the possibilities of what it could be, none of them are really too good.
I totally agree, David. And once again, if there's somebody here that's young and your children around this, please forgive me for the bad language. That is not what I'm not for that, and it breaks my heart every time there's something like that we're displaying here. There's some type of vulgar language. So please forgive me for that. I couldn't catch it in time. So speaking of, David, you said earlier about lasers coming out of drones. Why would there be lasers coming out of drones? A lot of people was talking about there's a military facility not too far from here with this video footage, and said they could be a Apache helicopter. And I'm just saying to myself, what is going on, and why is there red lasers being deployed out of these drones? And these poor people in New Jersey, and comment in the chat if you're from New Jersey. We'll give you a big shout out. I might be able to pull you up and give you a shout out on the screen name. But some of the very, very intriguing things going on here. So let's play this clip here. It's a little wild. It's about 2 minutes long. Let me know what you guys think, because it's beyond bizarre. I mean, we're off the cuff now in 2024, and it seems like everything is coming off the rails. So check this out. This one has bad language too, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute that one also. Yeah, I'll talk during it. So this footage here, so you'll see this little red orb here, and I see there's tree limbs and all kinds of debris and stuff. But but you'll see the little area this right here above this. I guess there's some trees or houses and roofs, but this little red dot here is starting to shoot out some, you know, some kind of little lasers coming off from Jetsons or something, you know. But there's literally shooting some type of projectile lasers, infrared, whatever, what have you, and you just can't make it up. I'm gonna kind of skip through it a little bit. And here's another angle. Here's another angle right here from multiple angles. There's one here, and then the other one. This one's actually a better one. You can see it right above the fence row here. I don't know about you guys and anybody watching this, but I know this video footage it's a few days old, about a week old maybe now. But it's so insane. I can't even believe we're reporting on it here, and we're here in 2024. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And David, I know you watched this. What do you think, David? It's
shooting. And, you know, since we're forced into the area of speculation, could it be that they're looking for something they want to take out? You know, could we have some kind of a crypto creature or something that's gone rogue that they want to kill? You know, that's another possibility. You know, why do we have drones landing on the ground shooting lasers? You know, I mean, we saw it. It's real. And, you know, what's going on? Maybe there is something there that they want to kill and take out.
Maybe it's Krampus, David. It's that time of the year. Maybe it's Krampus Breaking Bad.
You know, that might not be too far from a possibility, Brian.
Yeah, Krampus is popping off in New Jersey, and they had to send the Deploon. Forgive me, that's a little fun plug-in humor there. Did you know, David, that's categorized, like we talked about the other night, Krampus is categorized as a crypto creature? I just want everybody to know that. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know. Isn't that bizarre? Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on here. We got some more interesting stuff here to talk about and dive into. So we talked about, I keep seeing people in the chat saying there's nothing new under the sun, you know, the things that have been, and, you know, you will not have no remembrance of it, right? Because you wasn't born 2,000 years ago, 10,000, whatever, 4,000 years ago. But is these things coming up out of the earth, is technology just, you know, literally being revamped or orchestrated into being, let's just say, mankind is taking it because somebody gave it to them, you know, like the 8-foot to 10-foot tall beings. You know, we're talking about Nephilim, talking about fallen angels, whatever you have it. But I want to show some photos here. Some of them are AI because that's the world we live in, but I can plug in and actually plug in to know which ones aren't because I've seen them for 10 to 15 years. So check this out. As you see on the screen here, we got all these hieroglyphics, right? There's all these things, you know, Brother David, you can't see it. But there's all these hieroglyphics on the screen here. Egypt, Australia, you know, these are big into the Ancient Aliens, the History Channel. You see them all over the place. You see these petroglyphs and different things all over America. Why would you see these? Here's the question. I just want to bring this up one more time. I bring it up a lot. There's resemblance of orbs, resemblance of UAPs, UFOs, Apache helicopters, and I think it's in Karnak, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's Karnak. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brother David. But you have all these hieroglyphics that are telling a story. Why would somebody take the time to carve all this stuff out and try to explain a story or a storyline? And some of these, like 60% of these on this screen right here, or maybe about 45% of them are not. Some of them are a little bit AI-ish, but the rest of them are authentic. Like this one over here, let me make sure everybody knows. This one right here is from Egypt. And why would they have this technology to be able to present it back then if it was, you know, let's just say 6,500 years ago? So why is Thutmose, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Thutmose reporting to his priest and everything back in the Egyptian times that these crafts, these fiery chariots came out of the sky? What is going on? And speaking of, like, this is what we're all about here on FOJC Underground Church. We are all about the biblical narrative. If you're just a now newcomer, we love to dive into the biblical narrative. We love the Bible from the front to the back to all the way up and down the whole spine, right? We're Genesis to Revelation, and we even like to dive into the Book of Jasher, the Book of Enoch, just for extra references, and to refer to those. And when we look at these hieroglyphics and petroglyphs and these stories of the Native American traditions, why is people discrediting this and saying there's nothing true to it? Why would they even waste their time? So Thutmose, that story, Thutmose, I think it was the second or the third, whenever we talked about that on UFOs are real. Why would the priest and everybody at the exact same time it went on? I think for 7 to 10 days in that I think that's what happened during that time frame. And they was fiery chariots coming out of the sky. They didn't know what to do. And if you look into it, there's famines and all these different things that come along with it, and it makes you wonder what's really going on. And like there's nothing new under the sun. And what's really going on here, Brother David? I mean, why is there so much? Because here's the thing: if we take paper, let's just think about this. If we take paper and we write on it, it's going to disintegrate. If we take anything digital, it can be turned off with a switch, right? But these granite, these rock formations, it'll be forever written. Water erosion, all kinds of different things. Earth come, mud floods come, whatever. Somebody's gonna dig it up. All right, and it's very compelling to me that these things are coming out, and on an archaeology stance, they're being revealed. So why is this stuff in the past, David, and why are we seeing it now? Well, what is it? And what is it? Is it a component of? Is it a component of human now, or is it a component of fallen angel? Or is it a component of AI, which we're going to get into in a little bit? What say you, David, on this?
Well, this would be another check in the box. We talked about earlier about the loss of energy, the draining of batteries. And the fact that what we're seeing now, we can see things written in stone, if you will. They're not on TikTok, but they're written in stone of things that could be explained as this type of activity. So this would link what we're seeing now with something that has happened before, and it would definitely be connected in the realm of fallen angel knowledge. And when we talk about aliens, we're not talking about ET. We're talking about the Genesis 6, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man and created the Nephilim. And without an understanding of that, you're not going to understand Scripture, and you're not even going to begin to understand what all we're dealing with now. So that would be another check in the box that would point us towards some kind of a Nephilim fallen angel knowledge scenario.
I agree with you 1,000%, David. And speaking of, did you know, David, not just to add more to the fire, here we got solar panels getting destroyed, we got drones falling out of the sky, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit with the fire department and everything insane in New Jersey. Is it a psyop? Is it a hoax? Whatever's going on, but we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But we got some footage of something that looks so compared to the Ezekiel days, what Ezekiel's Wheels, what you see with the illustrations, a cartoon drawing or whatever. Let's get into this video footage because it shows literally something that looks just like Ezekiel's wheel in a wheel. But this was actually on a news channel, and I've got a snippet here. But before I show it to you guys, I took a P1000. I've zoomed in just literally a few months ago. I wish I had the video on this drive so I could present it tonight. Zoomed in. I don't even know what it was. It was a star, supposedly, but it was rippling, and it looks very similar to the footage I'm about ready to show you. But a lot of people are starting to believe, like, hey, didn't this thing say this? Orphana, the Ifa, the Vimana, people are starting to really connect with these things. And I think it's really interesting that God is really pouring out and saying, hey, look to the old ways, look to the things of old, and really research this stuff out. There's information that can actually help you with your walk. So check this out, David. It's insane. So this one's pretty good. One moment. And there's no sound, by the way. This is just video footage. And, a lot of people would say, well, That's just that's a star, that's Saturn, that's Venus, what have you, right?
There are so many people looking up and making those recordings because this mystery is one that
and
needs
there's
to
a
be
little bit
solved.
of audio at the end, but that's a snip clip from that news anchor there. I'm not sure. I think it was Navy News Nation, but I can't not remember who to give the credit to on that. But David, what do you think about this? Because I've seen this literally with my own eyes, with my own P1000. And you really can't make it up, and it resembles literally the wheels and the wheels of Ezekiel. What do you have to say, David?
Well, I'll throw another theory out since we're theorizing and speculating. And last night on the Midnight Ride, John played some amazing video of what just took place over there in the Notre Dame Cathedral. And we saw video of the guy there in the cathedral, and he goes over to a little door. He taps it with his stick, and they claim they're opening portals. And they claim that there's like 5 portals they're opening. Well, we might want to consider maybe they are opening portals, and the things that we see go on in our physical world, they're the result of what's going on in the spiritual realm. So, I'll just throw that out there, Brian. Maybe they are opening portals.
So what you're saying, David, is are you referring to the Pope? Is that who you're referring to, Brother David? Because that's who's the Pope. I've got that article pulled up.
The Pope is going to open 5 portals, and they claimed there in the Notre Dame Cathedral ritual to open the gate of the Last Judgment, I think they called it, opening portals, opening doors, and all of a sudden, the Catholics are getting all about this opening doors and portal stuff. So maybe there are portals opening, Brian, and their portals are reality. This is something that's, it's real. It's in our Bibles. It gives us an understanding of the spiritual world and how it operates. And while there's definitely a nut and bolt tangible reality, what we're seeing, that doesn't rule out the fact that there could definitely be a spiritual element attached to it or driving it. And, I think it's something we have to keep on the table until we can nail this thing down.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring that up, David, because I actually got it pulled up about this Pope Francis. And let's just stay here for a few moments here. I'm glad you mentioned this because I know that y'all brought that up last night. Pope Francis to open up 5 sacred portals on Christmas Eve. It's a ritual. So let's just read the article here. So Pope Francis will commence a centuries-long Catholic tradition on Christmas Eve and introduce a first-time historical addition to the holy ritual, right?
Yeah.
Starting on December the 24th, he will open up a series of 5 holy day doors throughout the Vatican. It's interesting. It says the Vatican, and if anybody has ever watched any of the material that we put out here on FLJC, I want to let everybody know it's a fortified star fort. Fortified star fort, okay? The Vatican is a fortified star fort. So go back. We got a star fort video that we've done on Sunday Night Live. So he's going to do this, and this is the same man. This is the same man. He didn't put down on Buddha. He didn't put down on the elephant god. He didn't put down on Shiva. He didn't put down on any other god. But he said Jesus died for no reason. That man said that verbatim out of his own lips. Unless it was AI generated years ago, this man said that Christ Jesus died on the cross for no reason. It was for nothing. I'm sorry, but he did say that. It might have been said a little bit different, but it was worded for almost verbatim how I said it. Isn't that a dang shame? I hate to use my hillbilly talk. And another thing, David, here we are talking about aliens and UFOs and, drones. Well, this man a couple years ago said that he was going to baptize aliens when they show up. So he might be, David, just real quick, he might be getting ready to pop off these 5 portals and crack off some, a little bit of interdimensional concept up in the Vatican. And he might be, sorry for the ads. Speaking of IBM, hello. He might be popping off some portals to bring in these alien people or whatever entities so he can baptize them, David. What do you say, Dave? Because this is bizarre world. Like, how's this happening? Why is this happening? Like, all this stuff is happening right now, this year. Like, we only have a few weeks left in December of 2024, And all this stuff is happening all sporadically at the same time. There's no coincidence here, Brother David. No coincidence. And he just announced this, a few days ago? Brother David, he just announced it a few days ago. I think this article was published on December the 9th. So what's that, Brother David? It's the timing couldn't just be, he didn't do it next year. He did it at the time that there's chaos in the airwaves. I mean, unbelievable, isn't it, David?
Yeah, and the footage John played last night on the Midnight Ride was phenomenal. Footage of this recent ritual there in the Notre Dame Cathedral, and the guy on there playing the organ, what it reminded me of, them old Universal horror films where Igor's playing the organ, it was that creepy. I mean, it was really, really creepy. So, the Bible talks about the one world religion. And the one world religion, I've said for years, it will be headed up by one of the popes of Rome. So what we're seeing here, and I made this comment last night, that for all that have eyes to see, this one world religion is coming together at breakneck speed. So here we got the Pope, who's already talked about their little Jesuit observatory out there on Mount Graham. They're ready to baptize the aliens. They're trying to do everything they can to contact them. And you can just read alien/Nephilim, and I believe they have contacted them. And this puts a whole new perspective on what we might see, because even at CERN, they have made the admission that they're trying to open up a portal by which they can contact otherworldly entities. So this portal thing and the connection with portals and entities and objects that we're seeing is something that we can't rightly ignore when we're trying to look at a solution for the possibilities of the origin of what we're looking at here with this drone thing.
And I'm glad, David, that you brought up the CERN narrative, because I really want to dive into that. I've actually got some information that I want to bring up for the public here. When you're talking about that specific thing and you're looking into, hadron colliders, particle accelerators, and what have you, when you think about, here's the question. Does anybody know how many particle accelerators there is? I'm talking about worldwide. And what I'm talking about, alluding to here, we have these hadron colliders, and Geneva, Switzerland is one of the biggest ones. I think China or Japan are getting ready to build another one, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's China. But does anybody know how many particle accelerators that you have in this world? So according to, you can look at Google, and I've done shows on this before, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, there are currently more than 30,000 particle accelerators used in the world. So let me dive into it for a little bit. So I've looked into it. They can be the size of a shoebox. They can be the size of a closet. They can be the size of a car. They can be the size of a warehouse. They can be as big as Geneva, Switzerland. And underground facilities, everything. Okay? So all kinds of different sizes. My point is they all connect, intertwine with this hadron collider. And all this information is like a network. And when you get into quantum fiable and quantum computing and quantum physics, that's why people are they're saying, hey, I'm stepping away because this is getting way beyond how I feel as a human. There's these big time people stepping away from AI mechanisms because this is what I'm referring to. These particle accelerators are literally, but the Pope, he must have the ability to open up the portal, to get in to bring back the old ways of the Atlanteans. The Anunnaki is on its way, right? Like he, I love you. I bring the 5 portals, right? Could you imagine? So he don't even have to have the particle accelerator. His particle accelerator is his little staff with his Dogman hat on, his Dagmon hat. He's playing with the fishes, right? He's going to Atlantean City. So he's already popping, right? He don't even have to have these devices. But he's well known. We promise you he knows what this is. So these 30,000 particle accelerators, people's built them in the past. They would go back. You can go back to like the 1800s, and they had them, David. Like late 1800s, they had small particle accelerators, and some of them got, let's just say, confiscated by the same people that are putting the 2024 drone raid, the same let's just say ancestors of, you know, the secret space program or the government black ops, whoever you want to label it. It's insanity, right? They think that we're incompetent. And, you know, people probably think, well, that boy Kentucky boy down there, you know what I mean? My Kentucky slang, you know, they probably like, man, his IQ might not be too sharp, but he can articulate when there's a portal getting ready to open up. And when you're getting ready to present a ritual and start talking into a native language, that, you know, harmonization, the monks. I mean, David, this goes back to Project Paperclip, okay? I'm not trying to put down on monks, but Hitler did this. Hitler would talk about how he would use monks to change the molecular structure of the ground. You can go look this up. It was insane. So is the Pope and all these other characters, are they all collaborating with something to bring up these gates, right? So here's a theory, a speculation. Let's just say we have a truck ton of these particle accelerators, and let's just say the drones are sniffing out something. Let's just say, for fun here, let's say the underground tunnel systems, let's just say, you know, because they keep talking about these missing people, let's just say the sulfur is spreading it's just going everywhere, okay? The sulfur smell, this whole alien narrative, the nuclear nonsense, etc. Let's just say a hypothetical, these things are going bump, bump, and they're coming out of the ground, and these drones are being deployed because there's some kind of interdimensional concept. You know, I think about the Kandahar Giant, right, David? I still think about that all the time, the Kandahar Giant, how he popped out of nowhere. I think it could be the same exact scenario, and I'm going a little long-winded here. What do you say, Brother Dave, about these particle accelerators?
Well, all the way back to the Vedic texting before that, there has been a profound understanding of the relationship between the spiritual and the physical. And there's also been that relationship of the spiritual realm imparting knowledge that will give mankind scientific breakthroughs. We would call that fallen angel knowledge. It was given out in the 6th chapter of the book of Enoch, and it's still being given out. And the understanding, this is what the German scientists did. They used the Vedic text to construct the bell and some of the other really sophisticated things that they were able to achieve. So we don't want to rule that out, because this is something that has been understood by all the movers and shakers, but this is something that they do their best to see that these kind of concepts are ridiculed among the masses that don't take the time to really look and see what's behind the curtain and who's pulling the levers. So we definitely have here a correlation between that spiritual realm and that which goes on in the physical in relationship to things like we're looking at.
I agree with you, David, absolutely. So speaking of politics and speaking of things that's going on here, you know, we're talking about the Vatican and the obelisk, right? The obelisk that's in the Vatican. There's an obelisk over here at the Capital, right? So we're going to think about some things. Did you see, David, the footage at the U.S. Capitol? Did you see that these drones are hovering over? Supposedly it's happening. Did you see that, David?
No, I haven't seen them over the Capitol. Mm-mm.
Well, check this out, David. I'm going to share this real quick, and it's pretty insane. I mean, it is what it is. Give me one sec to pull it up here. I'm a little slow on the roll here. Here it is. All right. One moment.
I'm telling you, they're not moving. They're staying stationary. They're hovering.
They kind of look wide too.
Look at the lights changing.
It is moving.
No, it's not.
It looks like it.
Yeah, but they're not moving. That's an airplane. Hang on.
Which one? The one closest to the Capitol building?
Hang on, let me zoom that a little bit. Yeah, that's an airplane.
But the one in the middle, that one.
That's an airplane. You can see it moving.
Yeah.
The one to the right, or over here.
The one behind the Capitol building is not an airplane.
Or over here. That's an airplane. Okay.
Yeah, over there is, but look at
Yeah,
that one.
and I'm saying, like, when you look to the left of the Capitol,
that one's
those are not moving.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
And David, what do you say about that? Because to me, it's kind of concerning too, as far as security, just for the U.S. Capitol. What do you say, David? It's pretty wild.
Well, the fact that, when you talk about restricted airspace, about the tightest airspace there is around the Capitol there in the White House. And for something like that to be there and to linger that long, we have no jet scrambling. We have none of that going on. They know what it is. They know what it is, or you'd have jet scrambling, is my conclusion there. And I don't think there's any other explanation of why we're not seeing fighter jets try to take that thing out.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting that there's been this talk too that military, all these gentlemen that know what they're talking about as far as drones, heat detection, right? They can't detect them. And I give a big shout out to John Pounders. He sent me a video. I'm going to play it. But before I do, I'm going to comment on this U.S. Capitol real quick. Did you know that these so-called drones, David, listen, I'm not making this up. I'm just a guy from Kentucky, but you can literally go out my backyard. And since all this stuff, even prior to this, all this hysteria and everybody in panic, I have seen the exact same thing with the footage I just showed you, all of you, on the U.S. Capitol. I've seen those things in the sky, and you'll watch them. And they'll speed up like this and just stop and hover. And then they'll go back. It's not airplanes, okay? And I've even seen them come straight up and just stay there for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, right? And there's nobody ever questions it around here. Nobody. It's just like everybody.
And back in, I think the year might have been about 1952, there was that historic UFO flap over Washington, D.C., and over a 3-day period, thousands of people saw these. There was an amazing display of UFOs in the early 50s over Washington. So, it's pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy. We might be building up to something here, and we've talked about a long time about disclosure. We've said for a long time that these entities are going to show up. It's prophesied in Scripture. We've read a lot of scriptures about this and a lot of broadcasts. It talks about, Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. In the Isaiah, it talks about the earth casting out the dead, the Rephaim. So maybe we're working up to something here. But this is certainly amazing, and that's what it reminds me of, this big UFO flap in the early 50s. And, back then, I forget, they just tried to explain it away as something absolutely stupid, and thousands of people saw this. But anyway, it's getting interesting. It's getting interesting. It's time to pay attention, do a little praying.
I agree, David. Men's hearts are going to fail them looking after the things come up on the earth. Men's hearts are going to fail them. So it seems like a lot of that's been going on here lately. It seems like the population's kind of dwindling, and that's all I'm going to say. And I'll comment later on that again. Remind me if I forget. So check this video out. This one's from News Nation, and they're talking about the heat element to it and whatnot. So just check this out. It's pretty compelling.
Is this the one Brother John sent our way?
This is the one, Brother John. Big shout out to you, John.
Brother John, let's just check it out here.
Hopefully I can play it. One moment. I got the wrong thing up here. It's not wanting to deploy correctly. There it is. One moment.
Appeared in the night sky. If you look real close, they look like fixed-wing aircraft, about 8 to 10 feet wide, colorful, white blinking lights.
That is not a plane.
Definitely not an airplane, but what was it? Hours earlier, I was invited to the Ocean County Sheriff Department. They launched their own drones to see if they could intercept the mysterious aircraft New Jersey residents have been reporting in recent weeks. The department says these mystery drones evade detection because they don't give off heat like regular drones.
Why do you think that is? We don't know. It's just something that we haven't, it's not something that we've had our hands on. It's not something that we've experienced.
Something they hadn't experienced until now. One of their officers called 911 after seeing 50 of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
50. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer?
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
I see one right here.
Did I see the same thing that officer saw? I'm still not sure. What I can show you is this video. What I can tell you is I've never seen anything like it before. Wow. In more than a month since these reports started, the federal government doesn't know what they are either.
What's your message to the White House?
My message: come to the Jersey Shore. I know it's wintertime, but come see what we see, and then, maybe have a better appreciation for why our residents are concerned.
And we should be totally concerned. David, what do you say about this? Because this one's a big shout out to John for sending it to me. David, what is going on here? Pretty insane.
That's not a regular. It's almost. It's getting hard to call that a drone when it's 10 foot wide. That's certainly nothing that an individual could buy. If it is a drone, it's definitely military. And the fact that they're going out there into the ocean. Now, another theory we have to at least entertain that's been put out there, that this could be Iran or Russia or China with a mothership off the coast somewhere, or from submarine maybe, launching these drones. Or it could be by us, whoever, having these things come from the ocean and people have seen them go back to the ocean. This could be setting the stage for blaming Iran or Russia or China for having a ship off our coast, launching these things if we could have a catastrophic event because of this. But, the idea that, you've got these drones over military bases and restricted airspace, there's got to be people in the military know a whole lot more about what's going on than what's being said. They just gotta know.
And I got something to throw out there too, David. I heard that they were upset about that claim. Iran and China, or Russia, all of them. I think they're all upset that they're getting accused of it. So let's just have fun here. So from the experts are saying, how could they have something to charge up to keep the drones to go back and facilitate the charge and then come back? So if this, like this news anchor here, News Nation, talking about 50 drones, do they have more than 50? Like, did they, deploy 50 come back? Like, do they have 100? Do they have 1,000? How many do they have? And how do you, if it's a destroyer ship, my goodness, David, I mean, it has to be gigantic. And I want to throw this out here too. What's the term, like in the Cliff High prophecies, talking about melee event, right? There's a melee. So all these military application words and whatnot that the average citizen could not understand. I remember me and Brother Dan, David, we did a program on Spiritual Warfare Friday that the Pentagon was saying there's a mothership like over us. This was like a year and a half ago. Yeah. So you're throwing that word out again? Like it was over our airspace. There was this mothership. I think it was called Mothership Over the Pentagon, as if I remember the title. So now you're saying, okay, there's a mothership out in the ocean. So is it more gaslighting to just like switch the narrative over? But then you can see these things. What's the term? I think the term is proliferation. I think proliferation, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, like the speed and they're accelerating so quickly, right? This technological paradigm, and you got these sheriffs and these people that are coherent, young, like their mental capability is able to say, okay, I can't articulate what I'm seeing, and we don't have the technology to combat what we're getting at here. So if this stuff is, if you can't heat signatures, are they coming from out of the water? Are they coming from a boat down by the river? What is it? I mean, and people are speculating all over the line. And I follow a guy on YouTube. I think his name's Adabu7. He's from my neck of the woods. He goes, why can't somebody just go out there and travel? He said he's like, if I had the means, I'll hire, I'll pay somebody if I had the means to go out and just take a ship or a craft or whatever. He's talking about a private plane. Does anybody follow these people out to somewhere? Why is that not even reported, David? Come on. Like anybody out there, anybody. Coast Guard, Navy, somebody. Air Force, somebody's seeing something. Okay? This is all hush-hush, when you see smoke, there's fire, right? That analogy. This is a lot of smoke, David. There's a lot of smoke. There's flames, and it's a powder keg of idiotic nonsense going on here, David. I digress. I'll let you have the floor here, but it gets under my skin for sure.
Yeah, and the one really neat thing, there's a lot of bad things about the internet and social media, but there's a lot of eyes on this thing. And there's a lot of people going to be watching this thing out there, and there's going to be a lot more coming out that we're going to have to look at. I think every day that goes by, there's going to be more things for us to look at to try to come up with some solutions. And the way people are pushing the military, they're going to have to say something. I believe they're not going to be able to keep a lid on this. They're going to have to do something. I think they're going to be forced to.
Agreed. And speaking of somebody saying something, there's a young man on Twitter, and he supposedly worked on the Apache and all these surveillance drones, and he knows what he's talking about. So check this out, Dave. We're gonna show some footage here. I hope everybody enjoyed it because this one really got me. This young man knows what he's talking about, and I think it's more creditable. I think it's more creditable than what I'm smelling a little swamp gas, but this individual, I'm really contemplating on what he's saying here. So one moment, let's check this out.
Making this video because I have figured out what the drone situation is. I was in the Army, active duty. I worked on drones. I was a maintenance NCO for some surveillance drones. And before that, I worked on the Apache, the Kiowa. I know aviation. So what people are not noticing is that you have two separate types of drones and two separate types of things in the air right now. First off, the drones that you see with flight lights or anti-collision lights or the things that the FAA requires, those are drones that are probably operated by the United States government. Now, the orbs that you've been seeing on the internet, that is the reason why all those drones are up there. And that is also why the government isn't telling you what's going on. And that's because the drones that you see that look like regular aircraft, those drones are up there to get some information on the actual orbs, which are actually the UFOs.
So what do you think, David? He's talking about the orbs and the UFOs. What do you say about this, what this young man's claims are here?
Well, it's something at this point we can't rule out. And some of the video footage, you can see what looks like a drone and an orb in the same proximity. I've seen this myself on this video. So, it's something we can't dismiss out of hand.
I agree with you, Brother David. So I don't know if you remember, we did a program talking about Dyson Spheres. I did it on my News It's Not for Everybody on Visual Disturbance. Did you know that? And people's like, well, it's just a concept. And this was literally 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I talked about Dyson Spheres. It was talked about all over. The News Nation brought it up. All these different news agencies was bringing up the Dyson Spheres. A lot of people was out there speculating, coming to these conclusions that it was the ancient Atlantean. That must be what the Pope's unlocking. He must be unlocking the security system. But anyways, saying it's the ancient Lemurian Atlantean technology. These are the Watchers. They use the terminology that the orbs was the Watchers, and they're watching us as we evolve into this extraterrestrial, or we can become like them if we just wait a little longer. They're the Watchers. And is this what they're looking at, David? Do we have some orb-like shapeshifter Ezekiel Wheels narrative, but there's some creepiness with it? Is it going on? What is it? And and there's like he was talking about, there's these drones in the sky, like they're battling. Is there, and speaking of, I don't have it pulled up here, but Elon Musk, David, I think it was several months ago, literally said, just be prepared, there's going to be drone wars in the sky. I'm paraphrasing, but he did make those commentary, and this was back, I think, in September. So what's up with that, David? So how did he have preconceived knowledge? What's Elon Musk knowing? Does he know something we don't? Come on now.
You bet he knows a whole lot we don't. You can bet on that. And in Scripture, the book of Enoch speaks about the Ophanum. And in the book of Ezekiel, everyone knows about the wheel within the wheel. The word wheel is translating the word Ophanum. And literally, you have two angelic entities involved there, the living creature and the Ophanum, the wheel, which is an Ophanum. Two entities on the good side of things working in consort. And ever since there's records, people have reported seeing orbs like this. There's here in our area, we're just real close to the Ohio River. And on the Ohio River, which runs all the way out to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where Mothman was, this has been just a hot spot for crypto creatures and orbs and things like this for literally hundreds of years. So that's absolutely got a biblical and a historical foundation to that type of phenomenon.
Unbelievable, David. Wow. Unbelievable. And it just makes you go, huh? You're just like, wow. Look where we came, look how far we came. And knowledge is increasing and people are going to and fro, David. The biblical narrative is coming to light real quick.
Yeah.
So earlier you accidentally seen me put David Pilates out. I always butcher his last name. Forgive me if you ever watch this. A big shout out to him too. He does a really good job at missing 411 cases and talks about all kinds of different things. Talks about aliens, talks about UFOs, and I had to bring him up in this program. I had to. Because all tonight when we showed all this footage, there's like the people saying there's these red and blue lights flickering. Well, if you go back and watch that Missing 411 video, or it's not a video, but a movie that he produced, the witnesses see these craft come up they're literally hovering, and there's no sound. But a lot of them would remember when they recalled what their memory, they had these red and like blue orb like mechanisms underneath these triangle crafts. And they was talking about abductions, right? And if you remember, he's done a lot of information. The guy has his own YouTube channel. He does all kinds of stuff when it comes to finding people. And he talks about this all the time during that film. And I wanted to bring this up because it reminds me of something that's came out in our world, like the information's a patent. And when all those witnesses and those testimonies, everybody he interviewed, is there something to that? I would never disagree and say these people are frauds. I would never say that. I think they're really telling what they've experienced, and God bless their souls because they've been through it, right? They had to go through a bunch of trauma. There's a lot to unwind that these people had to go through. I couldn't only imagine all the stuff that they had to go through in their life, missing people and their families, spouses, etc. But check this out. I think old David's onto something. So if you see this right here, you see this United States patent application publication, and you see it here. It was the published date was July the 6th, 2006. You see this triangle spacecraft. It's literally from, you guess it, John Quincy St. Clair in the U.S., right? And I thought it was interesting, I thought that was interesting. But this spacecraft is literally ours. This is supposedly re-engineered technology. You can thank our Mount Herman guys up on the Mount Herman and the 200 Watchers. You can thank them for this with their advanced technology. And man of 2024 has finally replicated what they wanted them to have. But as you can see here on this diagram here in this illustration of what this craft is, you see these like the D, the F, that look like what the description was on the Missing 411 documentary. And if those individuals, those good old boys, is hunting elk and deer, and they see this thing hovering with no sound, and they see this beam coming out, right? So remember the video that we showed at the beginning of the program with the stream of air going up and down, and we was talking about smoke, chemtrail, whatever it is. A Could it be something like that? Because these guys could have been a ray of light. Who knows, right? You know, we've talked a lot about a lot of controversial stuff here, vapor canopy, etc. But what kind of capabilities does this thing have? Like, what does it have? And what can it do? And it explains a lot. And it's just way too much to even comment on during this program. But this documentary, you can find this PDF file. Is actually a FOIA document. They release this to the public, and it talks about what it can do mechanism-wise and whatnot, the background, the invention. It has different antennas that do different things on a spherical stance. And there's all kinds of stuff that goes along with this that can give you, you know, let's just say cloaking mechanism, everything, and speeds of that you couldn't see, right? We talking about things dissipating, just, you know, vanishing out of thin air. This bad boy has the ability to do it. So you can see online, when you see online, there was these crafts coming. I've seen some orbs, David, that are going toward the ocean, and they're in sync, and they look like there's 3 orbs, and they look like triangle shapes going in formation. Is it just drones playing around? But whatever it is, something's going on here. And I think our government knows exactly what's going on. And why roll this out now? Yes, I know this was published in 2006, but I didn't start hearing about it until last year. People started catching on. It's just interesting, David. So what do you think about this? The correlation with what David Pilates was bringing up on his Missing 411. I think this is what he was speaking about when these guys was giving the testimonies. What do you say, David?
Well, I think all of these topics, they have a way of all converging and coming together and to be related and interconnected. And I think that's certainly the case with this also.
Absolutely. So yeah, everybody, the patent number, you can see it on here. You can check it out and download it and whatnot. It's freely, you can freely give to the public. You don't have to pay anything to extract this from the internet. So moving on. So we got some more things to talk about to unwind here. Here we are in the hour and 47-minute mark. If you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, we really would appreciate it here at FOJC. I don't know how far David can go tonight. I don't know how much coffee he's got in him, but we are going to go till like at least the 2-hour mark, maybe a little bit past that, but not too far. But I think because we're going to communicate with you guys. We got a few more things to show, and we're going to take some like questions or maybe just look and see what your all's opinions are, like David said. I can't let you down. We got to do that because David said that we was going to interact with you guys. So speaking of, there's more information here. I want to show some footage, David, that was so interesting and compelling at the same sense. And anybody in the Tennessee area and the Georgia area, if you're affected by this, and this next video, this is in Atlanta. So what happens in Atlanta? What happens in Atlanta? This was insane, David. There was car issues, and all these car lights start going off. And let's just check it out, and I'll show you real quick. It's pretty interesting.
Okay, legit, I had to like pull over and like pull this back up because I thought maybe it's a car party, right? There's a bunch of like those weird looking Tesla vehicles over there, and I thought maybe it's like a car club. They're just all meeting up. And it's a Thursday night. I just want to show you. But there's no one over there. There's not a body, there's not a person. Like if it was a car club, those are pretty common around Atlanta. But look at this. I'm gonna zoom in just so you. But the video that I heard was like this girl who was saying like, have you seen any of like the lights flickering or anything like that? And then there was a guy in Jersey who was like, yeah, my like house lights, my house lights have been going off and like flickering. And she made a video of like lights just like this doing the same thing in a parking lot. I have no idea how to find that or stitch it, but
so you pretty much get the video what they're trying to present here, and I will show some more here in a second in the Tennessee area. But what I'm bringing this up is they're saying, David, that these drones, when they're hovering over these locations, there's like disruptions with frequencies, appliances. There's all kinds of malfunctioning going on in their homes, etc. And then just like demonstrated here on this video, these parking lots with these cars, the alarms are going off, the lights, all this stuff's going crazy. And what do you say, David? Because we got one more to show in Tennessee, and then I'm going to show a video clip of a radio frequency issue. But David, what's going on here?
Well, this is a common phenomenon that's reported with the UFO phenomenon, and it's also in just the presence of demonic or angelic beings. That this has also been reported many times. So here's another pointer pointing us toward the direction of something here spiritual and supernatural that's going on.
Right.
And I would agree with you 100%. This next video, it's going to be similar, but I want to just document it here. Anybody from the Tennessee area, this one's a treat for you guys. Shout out for the Tennesseans. You're just south of me. Big shout out to the people from Tennessee area. So check this out.
It's in Memphis.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's where you were?
Yeah.
I see.
Memphis,
okay.
The capital of ancient Egypt.
Right. Yeah, you're bringing what?
Perhaps that's where
it's in Memphis.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's where you were?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and somebody's put some kind of weird audio in the background, so forgive me for that. I just muted it, but that's to do some kind of presentation or podcast with Elon Musk, I think, and isn't that interesting? I'm just pulling this from the internet here, but this is in Memphis. It's supposed apparently they're having the same disruptions and something kind of anomaly going on here, and it's something here to document, David. I mean, it's really, I mean, are we coming off the rails when it comes to technology? Is old technology, you know, are we getting bombarded with this new concept of AI mechanisms, ChatGPT? What is it? Like, what's going on, David? You know, what do you think?
Well, there's sure something going on. And I think probably we've got a combination of nut and bolts theology and the spiritual realm. And a lot of people have trouble connecting those two, but we've talked a lot about megalithic monuments. We've done a lot of broadcasts about Tiahuanaco and Chichen Itza, and many and pretty much all of these ancient megalithic structures have a history and a tradition about them that they were built by giants. And it's easy for us that have studied the scriptures and we know what the Bible says about giants walking the earth, that these giants were builders and capable of building tremendous things. So how would it be a stretch for us to believe that they were capable of constructing something that would fly? And I think certainly when you're talking about fallen angels, that they know a whole lot more than we do. They've been around for thousands of years. So the fact that when we look at things like this, that we've got something that could be produced not just by human beings, but by Nephilim technology, we'll say, or call it fallen angel technology, call it what you want. But I think this is a real possibility that we've got a convergence of these things going on.
I agree with you 100%, David. You know what's interesting, just to add to that, you remember we've talked about this three-letter agency document that talks about these human-like men that are giant in stature, and they have autonomous vehicles. This is in 1947. The document is named 1947, and they're talking about they don't belong in this world, and they have some type of it's not really, it doesn't come out and straight up say it, but it literally speaks of it as an interdimensional concept when you read the article, when you read the document, and they're talking about they're giant, they look human-like, and they're peaceful. What's that? I mean, what is it? You know, and it's just, there's so many pieces and so many things to dive in, but I want to show this one clip, and then we're going to show some more footage, and then I want to interact with the chat tonight. But check this out, David. Radio communication issues, unbelievable. It looks like something off a movie. Listen to this.
The hell is that?
And just to point this out, it's kind of comical because it reminds me of Independence Day that came out back in the 90s. But real quick, the fun humor on this, maybe he's just revving up the engine, David. Maybe the cylinder is getting ready. Maybe he has a cylinder going bad. Maybe it's a V6 motor, and maybe his motor's getting ready to lock up on him. But Brother David, what do you think about this sound? And it sounds very foreign. It sounds alien. It sounds like something off of a movie. Is it just gaslighting us, like I said? Is this just the biggest psyop and everybody's taking of the fruit? And, is it something like, when this information gets deployed, is it some kind of mass cognitively dissonance? Like, is there something going on here that's like, MK Ultra? Are we getting predictive programming? What's going on here, David? Because it's getting pretty insane.
Well, you find yourself saying, and I think we all do when we look at the stuff, oh, that's like this movie, that's like that movie, that's like, the Close Encounters scene that was reenacting the Betty and Barney Hill UFO experience. And it just shows that there's predictive programming involved here. And that would lead me to conclude they're building towards something. And that thing they're building toward, whatever it is, it's going to be good for them and bad for us. You can believe that. But here again, we have to keep that Jesus perspective, that in Christ, if we're going to stay true to him, he's going to take us through whatever old craziness that we're going to go through in these last days. And by the way, Brian, I just saw Sister Donna. She just said that she's been pulling questions, and she can feed them to you whenever we're ready.
Okay, that would be perfect. And thank you, Miss Donna. And I will tell you too, a big amen, David, what you just said. Hang on to the garment of Christ because it's getting a little rocky up in here.
Yeah,
and
you're going to be hanging on to Jesus, or it's going to be heart attack time for a lot of people. Because we're ramping up here. It's just getting crazier and crazier. So, yeah, anybody that has not put their faith in Christ, now's the time to do it, to repent and believe the gospel. I hate to think about people trying to live in these last days without Jesus. I really do. And there's no need for anyone to go without Jesus.
Amen, David. Well, amen to that. But here, speaking of predictive programming, and I always like to plug in something to do with movies and Hollywood narratives. Does anybody remember? It came out not too long ago, a few years back. I think they already released another one. But does anybody remember the Spider-Man? I think it's Spider-Man Far From Home. And if you remember the narrative, the villain, I think it's Mysterious. What's his name? Mysterio or Mysterio? Anyways, his whole superpower is advanced technology, right? And guess what? During this film, he's got these advanced military drones, and it kind of reminds me of what's really going on today, because he could turn the drones into holographic technology. It was a technological paradigm, right? It was a shift, right? And he was dominating the world with his drones and his gauntlet, or just his tech world, right? It makes you think what's going on here. It was the tech, there's people in the high tech world that's got the power to just throw their hand up and literally have sensors that can just command hundreds of drones from an airship or whatever, the mothership out back, But as you can see here on the screen, there's some clips from the video from the movie. And, Spider-Man riding the drones, going up. There's that red and blue symbolism, don't worry about all that. Don't worry about Spider-Man. It goes way back. But what I'm getting at is this character, Mysterio, would have all these capabilities of technology, and that's what his dominance was in this film. And I thought that was worthy of putting on this program. It makes you think, doesn't it, Brother David? It really does make you think.
It sure does. It really does. And we've never really taken the subjects of drones real serious. This is the first broadcast we've ever done about drones. And when you begin to think back, I remember all the way back to They Live with Roddy Piper. And, they had the drones chasing everybody. That was way back in the 80s. So, yeah, this is something that we've been built up for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of, real quick, I want to bring this up. I don't want to show it because it might get me in trouble with the algorithm. But in the New York, David, in New York, there has been reports of people possibly, getting ill. Let's just use that term. And what I'm coming to find out in the research, they're having acute, let's just say ARS. Let's just say ARS syndrome, the abbreviations. And they're showing nausea, diarrhea, etc., headache, dizziness, weak fatigue. And when you're demonstrating these symptoms, that is to do with, let's just say, radiation. And it makes you wonder, there's reports of this, David. It's all over the internet. People are having these issues in this area. And it makes you wonder if it's to do with this drone activity. It really does. And isn't that interesting? Do you have anything to say about that? Because it's kind of scary, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It is very concerning, and I know I've heard several people in the chat have mentioned it. We haven't, but this very much ties in with a lot of nanotechnology concepts that, we're there's enough things to be concerned about, but that's another whole slice of this pie that is another element converging in here with all of this. So, yeah.
I got two words, tobacco and tomatoes. And there's a few more, but got a little nicotine, a little nicotine, tobacco and tomatoes. I'm just throwing out, I think it's even got cauliflower out there. Just throwing out some terms. Not gonna comment on what they're used for. But the nano, the little combating. Just throwing it out there. The Indians, the Native Americans knew what they was doing here in Kentucky. The vibrant, sacred plant of the tobacco plant, the tobacco leaf. It's sacred to this state. It's there for a reason, and they was fighting the things that we're talking about today, and you can take that to the bank on an interdimensional scale until when it comes to the Nephilim, the giants. But who am I? I'm just some crazy guy from Kentucky. But moving on, I got to meet an individual not too long ago, a few weeks back. Me and John Pounders got to go to a Crypticon. I got to go to checking out Sasquatch, Bigfoot, all that good stuff. And I got to meet one of the people from the TV series Skinwalker Ranch. And during the presentation, Thomas Winterton. Thomas Winterton, I got to meet him. He's a pretty cool guy. He's actually a very genuine individual. He just like a regular guy. He seemed like he was engaged in the conversation. He was just a very friendly individual. And speaking of Skinwalker, it was big. If he hears this, Thomas, big shout out to you, my friend. Keep it up on the Skinwalker Ranch series. But speaking of the Skinwalker Ranch series, David, not too long ago, you can see here on this the drone footage clips. I didn't know how much I could get away with here for this program. But they had an anomaly. They had a bunch of drones. These drone specialists go over to the Skinwalker Ranch over there, and I seen this footage. They showed it over there at the Crypticon, but clips from it. But as you can see, here's a few little screenshots of the video footage. They had drones get literally just fall out of the sky, David. I mean, literally thousands of dollars per drone get just demolished. And they started failing, right? They started getting projectiled all over the place. I mean, they're dodging drones, man. And it makes you wonder. I don't know if everybody was paying attention to the program earlier with the drones and people reporting that they can't deploy their drones because of this airspace, and then there's this technology they're speculating, saying that, hey, the drones or whatever's flying in the air is interrupting my frequency, right? So the same thing's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. I even said to Thomas that I think it's literally a Stargate. I mean, the Mesa doesn't have, Stargate coordinates on the side of it. It's not talking about Orion and different things for just no reason on the side of the Mesa. And I told him that there's things that like that in Kentucky that reminded me of what's going on in Skinwalker Ranch. But guess what? You can't do what they do at Skinwalker Ranch. And if I was a multi-billionaire, I tell you what, I'd do some cleanup down here in the backwoods of Kentucky, and we'd have us we'd call it Hillbilly Ranch Gone Bad or something, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, but speaking of, if they're these advanced technologies, they're having these anomalies in this ranch, and the drones are falling, David. They're falling from these test runs, and all these drones are in synchronization of each other, and they're going in a square formation and flying, and they start dropping. But they started spinning out, the propellers and everything started failing, and then you have a graveyard full of drones. So it's the same principle on what's going on a worldwide scale right now. People are having, like we talked about with the radios, we talked about with the cars. What's going on, David? And I will just throw this out here too. I'm hearing animals at nighttime when I'm trying to go to bed and trying to sleep. The dogs, the coyotes, everybody's upset. There's something going. At this time of the year, I've never heard, because it's cold out, I've never heard animals screaming, and there's something disrupting them. And I've heard a lot of reports, people getting attacked by different animals, etc., and people are really getting panicky. And, I'm thinking that, is there some kind of correlation, Brother David, with this drone phenomenon? What do you say, David? What do you say?
Well, I know we've talked about the Luis Elizondo book several times, and in it he had a very interesting story that is unconfirmed at this point, but he seems to be a very credible straight shooter. But he claimed that at the Skinwalker Ranch there were a couple of dogs that took off chasing a orb, UFO, drone, take your pick. And when they began advancing toward this thing, that drone or UFO or orb or whatever it was turned these dogs into bite-sized pieces about ready for barbecue. Now, this has never come out in any of the Skinwalker Ranch episodes, so I don't know if that's a true story or something that they don't want to reveal, but this was certainly a very interesting story that Mr. Elizondo put forth in his book. And he's right in the forefront here of the UFO disclosure at the highest levels. So just saying, something to think about.
So what you're saying, David, is it some type of shape-shifting capability or something to that magnitude? What are you saying, David? It's crazy.
Well, I'm saying, that, and what Mr. Elizondo said, is that these dogs took after this orb or whatever it was, and the orb killed the dogs and blasted them quite emphatically into little pieces.
Wow.
And
wow.
That is what Mr. Elizondo said.
Wow. Wow.
So I don't know. This has never been confirmed in any episode of Skinwalker Ranch that I know of, but it's Mr. Elizondo related that in his book. And so I'd like to maybe if ever get a chance again to talk with Mr. Skinwalker, we can ask him about that. I'd like to know if that's true or not, because that's pretty wild.
I agree, David. So speaking of, real quick, in this last video I'm going to show tonight, and David, you got me all frazzled, man. That's why I was like, what are you talking about? The dogs got obliterated by the bright orb? Speaking of an orb, and I wanted to show this. I wasn't going to show it, but since you brought that up, it feels like I need to show it now. Speaking of orbs transforming, and I know we had commented on that at the beginning of this program, I really want to share this because is it authentic? People are saying it is. It's almost got 1 million views on this particular footage here. Let's see what's going on with this. Let's see if this is even legit. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. This one's got me. This one got me too. There's not much sound, but as you can see, it's similar to what I was referring to, and it's just a bright orb, and it looks like something that I would have videoed in the sky with my P1000, but according to the report, it starts to come in and go. But yes, I understand there could be manipulation. Yes, I know there could be some type of artificial intelligence, but you can start seeing flashing lights on the left and right of it. So if it's sitting there flickering and going back and forth and turning to this, looking like something off of Star Trek or an orb, and it's got flickering lights on it, there's people that have been commenting and people alluding to there's this concept that they're saying these drones are turning into, jetliners. I mean, this is how bad it's gotten, David. The hysteria has went to an all-time high, and people are starting to either lose their wits about them. But this is if this video is authentic, which people are saying it is, it's turning into a jet-like, drone-like something from an orb, and then turns
got some transformers going on.
Transformers, yes, sir. So if this is if people have seen this with their own eyes, and there's more people that are speculating and talking about it, it kind of goes off the film there. Let me scroll over. But yeah, it kind of goes off the film. There it is toward the end. But yeah, if people are talking about it and it's a thing and then people are experiencing this, what is that, David? Is that real? I mean, And like you said, though, if this happened at Skinwalker Ranch and these type of narratives and something to that level, could we be seeing this now in the skies and it's altering? Because could that explain why they look like, a huge airplane? And then they're like, that's an airplane with high advanced technology from Space Force, from Radion, or, people's like, pulling all these different so-called tech companies and Space Force applications and saying, oh yeah, it's Project Bluebeam on steroids, it's pandemonium, and now, you're talking about Transformers, Optimus Prime, what I'm saying? And could you imagine Megatron, what I mean? Like, seriously. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother program in itself. In the 80s babies, that's all you heard and listened to with these. You was G.I. Joe, Transformers, and it's literally humans working with the robots, right? And to help out with this mass extinction of this planetary body, right? And transhumanism. It's been getting us geared up for predictive programming. But David, what do you think about this? Because that one I figured out we'd leave that for last. Isn't that crazy, David? What do you think?
It is crazy, and another thing, we can't rule out some of these videos being phony. That's another possibility. But so many of these events have been videoed by multiple people on the same event, which makes it kind of hard to believe that they're bogus. But there was one video I saw of one of these drones, and it started, it was changing very rapidly. The lights were flashing. It looked like something someone would use to hypnotize somebody. It could very well have been something that could have produced a hypnotic effect if you would have looked at it long enough. So there's just so much we got going on here. But I tell you what, let's get some ideas from our listeners. Let's get a few questions here and do as many as we can from the listeners. Brian, let's see what they got to say.
Absolutely, David. Let's see what the folks have to say here. And Miss Donna said she was going to repost them for me, and she said she's going to get on that here in a second, I think, of the way she's referring to. But until then, I will wait patiently. And I tell you what, everybody in the chat, do me a favor. Put everything in caps, all caps, and hopefully I can see it. I want to give a big shout out to everybody, and thank you for your time, like always, here. I'll welcome all newcomers. Sorry for the tech issues. Heck, when you go live, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I mean, sometimes I wonder, how we get stuff done. So sometimes it gets a little wild around here when it comes to the tech. But just things happen, the powers that be, and then these softwares, they go belly up.
I think Donna just put one in there. Brian.
Okay. A DL. Okay, I don't know who DL is, but thank you, DL, for commenting. Any damage from lasers? That's a really good question. I have not heard, and I thought the same thing. It was a good question. I thought the same thing. I was like, why wouldn't that be reported? David, if you can just jump in any time, but I'll try to answer it. It's kind of interesting that those lasers were so prominent on that video, and you would think that would do some very, very, very bad damage, right?
Yeah, and we don't know what they were shooting at, but I bet they knew what they were shooting at. And lasers, even if, we've heard the stories of these punks that will take lasers and put them in planes that are landing to try to get it in the pilot's eyes. And most definitely, lasers can cause significant eye damage and other damage also. We're talking Space Force type technology here. So I don't know of any damage that those lasers have caused, but absolutely lasers can be very, very serious weaponry.
Absolutely, David. And it's interesting. Speaking of, maybe we need to start selling blue tarps. Maybe like a blue cloak or something.
Yeah.
You go outside and maybe that'll bounce off of you.
Yeah. There's another one, Brian. It's about the chat's moving so fast it's about to get away. Did you see it?
Yeah, I'm seeing. Okay,
it went up off the screen in the chat.
Yeah, let me dig in. I will get back to it real quick. So I'm gonna catch up here. Forgive me, Donna. I can only go so fast. Wendy Walker. Big shout out to Wendy for commenting here. I caught it because it said 3D, You know, a lot of people don't know this about me. A lot of people give me flack about it. But I'll tell you 1 minute worth of, maybe less than that. But Wendy, I wear these so-called glasses. They're not 3D. I actually got them from vision therapy. I actually had an accident where it messed up my vision. Okay, I have vision issues. I really try to maintain, do the best I can. But these glasses that you're referring to, you can't hardly find them. I'm a vision therapist. I can't even get some new ones. If anybody out there know where you can get some, these come from Belgium, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm really kind of in dire need for a new pair. But the vision therapy that I'm going to right now, they do not facilitate or even have them, and they're actually retiring out. So, I mean, literally closing up shop, so to speak. And I'm having a little issues with that. So, yeah, I had some trauma, and I had an accident, literally going to be going on 6 years coming up soon. So there's a little personal thing for everybody out there, because I know a lot of people ask about it and give me flack and make fun of me. But guess what? This good old Kentucky boy's got thick skin, persevere, and move on. But I didn't get offended, Miss Walker. Thank you for your question. I hope that answers it for you.
Here's another one, Brian. It says, Gabe the Shepherd, are the probes an attempt at the Great Deception? What do you say, Brian?
So I think about this a lot because of if okay, let's just say it for fun here. If they're reconning an area, okay, so we have to think about this logically. And to lead to a great deception is a deception to cultivate and herd in the cattle, right? Like, they observe us as that. They've said it. Heck, they've all said it. All the higher, well, not all of them, but majority of them have said we're useless, you know what? And to herd the culling, right? To bring in this new world, you know what? And I think a possibility that is resonating with me with that question, these probes and stuff, to bring fear, to bring in something, I got to watch how I say it, to bring in fear to such a degree to get you such in a state that you'll bow to something that come upon it new, but it's nothing new, but it's a sinister plot to bring in this agenda, which the Bible would talk about with the mark of the, beast. And I think this whole probing thing, David, it's pretty trippy. I mean, it's really complex, and with alien abductions and all these different things that go along with all this, I think we're getting in this time where we need to check up on ourselves, like spiritually, because when our soul, like we have a soul, you have these new age ideology people talking about flesh suits and stuff, but we have a soul. We are specially formed, and people don't understand that. It's almost like we've been dumbed down so much by these technological things that we have a soul that is so vibrant and wants to live, and we have this temple, and we should take care of a temple. And these things that are coming on the earth, they want us to bow to their agendas and want us to be immortal. They're claiming that. They want us to play in their playground, but that's not the way to get to immortality. The place of getting immortality is the man that laid his life down at Golgotha. And then we have to really think about that. It's a spiritual thing. We are at a spiritual warfare right now, for sure. I hope that answers the question, Dave.
Yeah, and that's a big element here. Spiritual warfare, as several people in the chat been saying. That's exactly it. All right, Sister Donna, throw us out another one.
And forgive me, Donna, I'm doing terrible. I'm doing absolutely terrible with these questions.
And well, some of them, the chat's moving so fast, they went out. I wish we could pause the chat, but we can't, so it went by us. So throw us out another one, and we'll try to do another one here, Sister Donna.
I think she says, Christine, I think that's what she says. I'm northern New Jersey, and I saw all these UFOs in the past 30 days. I'm single, middle-aged.
Okay, here's one.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Oh, boy, it sends word. Can you pray for my son? He's struggling with God. And let's do that right now. Father, in Jesus' name, we just pray for this young man, that you just give him faith to believe in you. And Father, we just pray right now, your conviction and the spirit of wisdom and revelation to rest upon that man right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And another question just got by me before I could read it.
Okay,
here we go. Okay, it says, Bobby, heaven is set up like the military before the fall, so we won't know it was not the creation for Lucifer. The question is, who would the Most High be fighting or preparing to fight? And the obvious answer there, in Revelation chapter 12, there was war in heaven. And there was war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought with the dragon and his angels. And it says in Revelation 12, they were cast back into the earth. And here's another doctrinal perspective that sets us apart from the mainstream church. Thank God for that we're looking for that war in heaven where they're going to be cast back in. Now, here's another one. Misty belongs to. It says, and now I got to wait it to go up. There's a finger right over top of it, and I can't read it.
I want to can I give a shout out real quick?
Yeah,
there's a young lady here. I think her name was Christine. She says I'm from northern New Jersey and I saw these UFOs the past 30 days, and she says she's single, middle-aged, female, and terrified. Well, I would say you're never alone, and I know that it can be very traumatizing, especially if it gets even more intensified with military applications. And I would just pray. I would literally pray for just for peace and joy, and even regardless of what's going in the skies. Because you know what's so interesting? You didn't know, even when we was kids or whenever you was younger, you wouldn't have known any better. They could have been doing all kinds of different things. It's just now they're perceiving it and putting it on the TV, and now it's captivating, right? And I get caught up in it too. I'm not saying anything ill will here. I mean anybody. It can be very fearful because you don't know. They could do anything, but just be of good cheer and keep your mind on the Lord and keep your mind on the narrow path. Don't get dismayed. Don't be dismayed over this world.
Yeah, in Christ we did a DLC, Fear Not, on the Doctrine of Christ. That would be a real good episode for anyone to watch because all of this stuff generates fear. It really does. Fear and uncertainty, but in Christ we can overcome that fear. So go to our Doctrine of Christ channel and look at that episode on Fear Not. All right, Sister Donna, throw us out another one here, Sister Donna. And I tell you, a lot of these, I apologize, they're going by so fast. We're going to have to come up with a better way to take questions because by the time we start reading them, they're gone. So if you throw us out, we'll try to do another one.
Here's a really good question, David, and I love this question. This is by Bobby Skikes. Did the angels understand killing and weapons, what was really happening in heaven? And I've asked that question before myself. They already have preconceived knowledge, David, when the angels knew how to teach mankind. We're talking about makeup for women and how to forge weaponry. So do you have an answer for that, Brother David? Like, as far as how did the angels, let me summarize it. How did the angels have this knowledge of killing and weaponry and everything before they took the oath on Mount Hermon? What do you say, Brother David?
Well, there's a scripture of that, and I can't recall the citation, but it actually talks about the chariots of the cherubim being the word Merkabah, and it literally talks about angels traveling in chariots, which would be Merkabahs, much the same construct we saw in the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel. So the idea that there's not weaponry involved is something we can't rule out.
I agree with that, David. I agree with that. I'm trying to catch the other one. Miss Donna's there. Oh yeah. So Mitchell McCall is asked the question several times. Why is Elon so quiet after this drone narrative? I think that's what they're trying to say. That's a really good question.
Well, I would refer, and of course that's a lot of more speculation, but we did on the Midnight Ride, a Midnight Ride on Elon not long ago. And the things, when you look at the things he's saying, the agenda he puts out is certainly not the biblical agenda. And I'm just deeply concerned about that guy. I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling from him, and when I put the smell test to him, it curls my nose. So I'll just say that that young man troubles me. Yes, he does.
Moving on, David. This one's from Miss Donna. She's Julie. Julie has a question. Do you think that they are Ophanim, wars of good and evil angels?
I think some of them definitely are. And like we talked about just a little bit earlier, that we've seen these drones or whatever they are and these orbs together in the same picture. So I think we definitely do have a combination of the two. Orbs.
Wow. Yeah, I agree, David. Wow. Speaking of, this is a really good question, David, and I remember I told you to remind me. I had something to say, but this question right here, Anna Marie Winburn, we met her. Big shout out to her. We met her in Tennessee. You think they are doing a census on us along with other nefarious agendas? Your thoughts? Thank you.
Doing a census?
Yeah, that's what it. I think it's. I hope it's not a mistype, but that's what Miss Donna wrote there.
Okay. Well, and you know, at this point, we can't rule anything out.
Yeah. So, can I speak about that, David? I got something.
Yeah,
so I want to bring everything to everybody back to reality. If you remember the census of them taking the population, does anybody remember that? Like the statistics of what the America will be in 2025. I don't know if anybody's seen this or went back to it. They're giving good grace now. It used to be 67 million, and now they rounded it up to about 100 million. That's what they're saying the population is going to be in America. So with all this drone stuff and everything escalating, it makes you wonder really what's going on. And I want to bring this up. I got to watch what I say here. We're at the 2.5 hour mark. But does anybody realize that they're going to, in January, they've already passed it. And if you are of a military age, you get enrolled. Now listen to me very carefully. And it says on there, I'm trying to not speak in a way to where it gets us in trouble. There's certain tactics and certain applications that they're deploying that they're going to require everybody that's 18 plus if you're a male to enroll, that you're going to enroll. And they say the claims that there's going to be a national emergency. So is this all playing up to this time and this 2024 narrative? Is it going to build up to 2025? And I've even read on the ballot, and I can't validate this, but in March, if something doesn't play out, I've heard this. In the document, it says if it's 18 to 35-year-old and you're a woman, this is what I've read. I can't validate it, that it's going to happen. I pray it doesn't get voted in. That you have to go too. Like, we got us I'm just trying to wordplay it here. When it comes to military applications, something's happening. Something's going to happen. So if the census and everything that we had to do a couple years ago to see how many population we got, and I don't know about you, Brother David, the population seems like it's declining off the rails. And I'm sorry if I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings, but I'm just spitting out the tried up facts. There's a lot of people passing away, and it's unfortunate. My heart goes out, right?
Yeah.
But if we get to
a lot of people dying before they should have died.
Amen.
And,
we know.
And why. I tell you, I'm just going to take a minute here, and I'm going to ask everybody and I appreciate all of you just hanging out with us tonight and kicking the ball around. And if you have enjoyed this broadcast tonight, let's do a little Sunday night slam, and let's put the likes through the roof. And if you have never subscribed here to FOJC Radio Underground Church, please do so. And subscribe to Brian's channel, Visual Disturbance. It helps us to be able to do what we do. So on the count of 3, let's hit that like button. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Hit that like button. Help us out and send it through the roof. And Brian, let's go ahead, and I tell you what, people seem to enjoy hanging out with us, so let's do a couple more.
Yeah, let's do a couple more for sure.
And I know we're wearing some of you out. Somebody said that the chair was wearing a hole. I can appreciate that. It's been a long broadcast, but I enjoy it. And I enjoy talking about the things of God and trying to probe mysteries, and I enjoy just hanging out with Brian and y'all. So, Brian, let's do a couple more.
Yeah, and I want to thank you all too for going so long. And I know it's hard on David, and well, it's just I appreciate you, Donna and David. Yeah, so they're a blessing. Big shout out to you, Donna, for putting all the what I've missed in the chat. Let's grab a few more, brother David. Let's grab a few more. Okay, Vape King. Yeah, Vape King. Does Elon do drones? And I
don't really know. I bet he does do some drones. I bet Elon's got some dandy drones of what I bet, but I don't really know any specifics on that.
Okay, I don't either. I do know that the Starlink mechanisms, and if you can build a taxi cab and a van and drive it down by the river. I'm using some commentary from an old skit, but if you can go do all these things and build Optimus, the new robot coming in, and you got some drones. You know what I'm saying? You got drones.
Yeah.
If you can build an autonomous robot that is named after Optimus off Transformers. You can make a drone fly. He's probably got 200,000 of them. But anyway,
if you was wanting to find someone to build you a drone because of Volkswagen, Elon's your guy. Let's just put it like that.
That's exactly right. Darlene Author, listen, I've caught you here. I didn't see you in caps. My mom passed away over this morning. Pray for us. Thank you, Dave and Brian. Yeah, I'm having some issues right now with some family members, and I've got a daddy that's doing really bad right now. So, Darlene, my heart goes out to you. David, would you like to pray for this individual?
Let's do. Father, in Jesus' name, we just pray now that you just let your Holy Spirit comfort, the love of Jesus surround this family right now. And Father, you said in your words, you're near those of a humble and contrite spirit. So Father, just let your grace and love be poured out upon them now in this time of grief. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, our heart goes out to you. I know that pain. I'm feeling what you're laying down. I'm gonna have to endure that here soon. Okay, so let's grab a few more, Brother David. I'm trying to look at them diligently as my eyes will take me, Okay. Okay, that's Miss Donna. She's funny. Okay, so Crazy Horse emailed me, and I will have to find the video. Okay, so never mind. Sorry about that, Donna. Send an email to Brian with questions. Oh man. So let me dig a few more here, and I'll grab a few more. I know there's a bunch of people in the chat too. God bless your all souls. I've met you guys. I met some people from Arizona. Big shout out to people out here. I've met all kinds of people here that's in the flesh that I've met with a face, with a name, with a screen name. It's pretty cool. I think it's been a good program, Brother David. I felt pretty strong about this one. I mean, I think we did a pretty darn good job of,
I did too.
expanding.
Of course, we'd think that, though, wouldn't we, Brian? We would think that, would we?
Yeah.
But I've just really enjoyed all the feedback from everybody tonight. It's just been we need to talk these things out. We need to think them through, and we put a lot of things on the table tonight that as we go forward and keep our eyes on this, we're going to be able to be on top of this and be aware of what's going on. So I just really enjoyed the broadcast tonight, and I apologize. We missed some questions. I know some of them, they got away from me before I could even read them. The chat was going so fast.
I've got
But
one.
thank you.
I've got one. I'll take this last one because.
All right, let's do one more, and we're going to wrap this up. Let's do one more, Brian.
Shout out to you, Johnny Kirk. I see you commenting. I see you all the time commenting and sharing this stuff out. Bless you, my friend. Are these things coming across, or excuse me, are these things coming from outside the ice wall? Let me tell you something. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the program. David, let me ask you, it's got me going. I mean, we might go for 3 hours on this one.
Watch out now.
So David, question, I want to hear what you have to say. Is this a civilization? So Admiral Byrd narrative, right? And he found all those so-called continents that's going all over the place. Is this a break-off civilization? Is this technology? Is this the mothership? Is it deploying? Is this literally the day, a break-off civilization? Do we have is there something to do with these continents that Admiral Byrd alluded to with his mission, and he's across the ice wall, so to speak? And are we seeing the technology? Is it like us? And is it just breakaway civilization of humanity? What is it, David? Is it the reptilians? What are we doing? Is it the Palladians? What do we got going on, David?
Well, we've done many broadcasts, Brian, about portals into the inner earth with the hollow earth theory. We've talked a lot about portals in the ocean, underwater UAPs, and we've talked about the ice wall and the land that is beyond the ice wall. Admiral Byrd saw it. He reported what he saw. Other people have saw and experienced and written about it for thousands and thousands of years. And all of these are distinct possibilities for solutions of what we're seeing. And I think that we've got a combination of the natural and the spiritual that's working together. And also we put forth the theory, William Cooper put this out in his book, Behold a Pale Horse, and he also predicted 9/11. It said there was two people predicted 9/11, Alex Jones and William Cooper, and William Cooper's dead, so there you go. He was shot down on his own property by the police. But anyway, these are all things, and of course what Mr. Cooper said is that all the way back to the Eisenhower administration, that our government had knowingly been working with these entities. So, there you go. That's the conspiracy corner, but that's how we roll around here. And we put all the cards on the table, and we go down all the rabbit holes here. And we think at this point in time, we better check all the rabbit holes. And we've stuck our nose in a lot of rabbit holes tonight. But I guarantee you the rabbit's down one of them. Yes, he is. And we're going to keep an eye and see where that little rascal pops out.
Yeah, I think we've seen Bugs Bunny after this program 2 or 3 times, and Elmer, what's his name, Elmer Fred or whatever, back in the day, the Looney Tunes character.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, Elmer Fudd and Porky Pig. I think that's going to be all folks, you know what I mean? So I wanted to thank everybody for being part of the broadcast, and I really did feel good about this one. Thank you all for being attentively with us, and your time means something to us at FOJC. And if you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Brother David says it helps us with everything here, what we're trying to do with the FOJC community and with this ministry. So I want to thank you so very much for being here, and thank you for listening to me for over 2.5 hours. And I really would appreciate it if you all share this out. If you could just do that for us, I really would appreciate that. And literally, you'll see us next week on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, like always, 7 p.m. Central Time. But David, before I let you go and let you end us out, if I see one flying across the street or above or backyard or whatever, I might give me a javelin or deploy, and I might hang on, man. I might do some Silver Surfer or something, man. Tie a rope around it and fly off into oblivion and across the wall. I don't know, man.
Well, I tell you what, my advice is: number 1, rebuke it. Number 2, shoot it. That's my advice. Now, I think with that, we're going to draw this broadcast to a close. Much thanks to Brian for all he does, and Sister Donna for grabbing the questions, to all of you for being a part of this and making it a very, very special broadcast. Thank you so very much. And with that, until next Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, a big high five and good night, everybody, from FOJC Radio, Sunday Night Live. God bless you all.